Today's young and restless, very heartbreaking news. Hello lovely viewers, welcome to my channel. Please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up before the video starts. Young and Restless is setting in motion a head-scratching new romance. Over the decades, The Young and the Restless has paired up countless unforgettable couples. Review the best of the best here. Victor and Nikki, Neil and Drew, Sharon and Nick, Phyllis and Nick. The list could go on for pages. But the twosome that seems to be getting pushed together next is... it's a confusing matchup. Let's put it that way. We're obviously headed for a Kyle/Claire romance. What we can't figure out is why. On one hand, we have Kyle, who seems not to have matured one iota since his marriages to Lola and Summer. He's trying to wedge a boy into brat girl Summer by teaming up with Victor to stick it to his folks. On the other hand, we have Claire, who since being rescued from Aunt Jordan, seems to have forgotten that she was once Nikki's savvy assistant. She's now as sweet as pie little Mary Sunshine who couldn't even spell an unkind word, much less say one. So what, we are forced to ask, is the appeal for either of them? Not to put too fine a point on it, but Kyle has a type, and that type is fiery. Lola had spark. Summer is as mercurial as Mom Phyllis. Audra is the equivalent of a heat-seeking missile. And Claire 2.0. She's being written as such an angelic naif that dating her would be like dating a baby doll. And why would Kyle be of interest to Claire? He's a thrice-married former playboy whose moral compass is so broken that he'd attack his own parents because he's in a snit. Why would a guy like that appeal to Claire, who has become so saintly, she makes Mother Teresa look scandalous by comparison? This Claire would more likely want to teach Kyle the golden rule than entertain his amorous advances. The sun cast a golden hue over Gemma City as Kyle Abbott strolled into society, his mind set on the business dinner ahead. It was supposed to be a typical night, one focused on securing a new deal for Jabot, but fate had other plans. As he entered the restaurant, his eyes were drawn to a woman sitting at the bar. She was stunning, with flowing chestnut hair and a sharp, tailored outfit that screamed confidence. Kyle was captivated. Claire Thompson was on her phone, typing a message to her best friend about the horrendous day she'd had. Moving to a new city was supposed to be a fresh start, but it had turned into a whirlwind of work pressures and awkward first dates. She was ready to call it a night when she felt a presence beside her. "Mind if I join you?" Kyle's voice was smooth, practiced. Claire looked up, a hint of skepticism in her eyes. She wasn't in the mood for small talk, but there was something about Kyle that made her pause. He had a boyish charm mixed with a refined edge, the kind that made women swoon. Claire, however, wasn't easily swayed. "Depends. Are you trying to sell me something?" she quipped. Kyle chuckled. "No sales pitch, I promise. Just thought you might enjoy some company." Reluctantly, Claire nodded, and Kyle took the seat next to her. What started as light banter soon turned into a deeper conversation. They talked about everything, from their careers to their reasons for being in Geno City. Kyle found Claire's independence refreshing, while Claire was intrigued by Kyle's ambitious nature. As the night wore on, there was undeniable chemistry between them. Kyle was smitten, convinced that Claire was unlike any woman he'd ever met. Claire, on the other hand, felt a pull towards Kyle but was wary of diving into something too quickly. Her last relationship had left her heart bruised, and she wasn't sure she was ready to open up again. Days turned into weeks, and Kyle and Claire continued to see each other. Their dates were filled with laughter, flirtation, and stolen kisses. But as their relationship deepened, so did the cracks in their seemingly perfect connection. Kyle was used to being in control, both in business and in his personal life. He was spontaneous, often making decisions on a whim. Claire, however, was methodical and liked to plan everything out. Their differing approaches to life began to clash. Kyle would surprise Claire with last-minute weekend getaways, but she would feel overwhelmed by the sudden change in plans. Claire's meticulous nature started to frustrate Kyle, who saw it as a lack of passion. The tension reached its peak during a charity gala. Kyle, wanting to impress, had planned an elaborate surprise for Claire, one that involved a public display of affection. But when the moment came, Claire froze. She wasn't ready for such a grand gesture, especially not in front of the entire town. hurt and embarrassed, Kyle confronted Claire afterward. "Why do you always have to control everything? Can't you just let go for once?" Claire's eyes filled with tears. "I can't be who you want me to be, Kyle. I'm not spontaneous, and I don't want to be. I need stability, and I thought you understood that." Realizing they were at an impasse, both Kyle and Claire knew what had to be done. They cared for each other deeply, but they were too different to make it work. They parted ways that night, both heartbroken but accepting that sometimes love isn't enough. As Kyle walked away, he couldn't help but wonder if he'd ever find someone who fit into his life as seamlessly as he wanted. Claire, meanwhile, took a deep breath, knowing that while it hurt now, she had made the right choice. They were a beautiful mismatch, destined to cross paths but not to stay together. And so the sun set on their short-lived romance, leaving both Kyle and Claire to continue their separate journeys in Genoa City, searching for the love that would truly match their hearts.